Hello and welcome to the Alpha Anywhere demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I'm pleased to be joined by Sarah Mitchell, head of our documentation department. Today, Sarah, who's often the first to know about new features because she has to document them, is going to go over the new features that are included in the recent release that came out last Friday and will probably be updated again this week. So I can't wait to see them. Of course, this is also a Q&A webcast, so if you have any questions, go ahead and type those questions into the GoToWebinar control panel. And as a reminder, you can always reach us here at guides, GUIDES, at alphasoftware.com. So let's get started. Sarah, it sounds like you're there, so I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter.
I am here, and I apparently forgot to mute myself before it started.
No problem at all.
Oh, all right.
Here we go.
Hold on 1 second.
No problem.
1 second. All right, I'm ready.
Great. So there you are. Oh, we're looking at Alpha
All
DevCon.
right. All right, we're flying without a PowerPoint today, folks. So this will be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Before we get started, I wanted to share a few things with you. First of all, being that Alpha DevCon is coming up, and we have already started discussing the content we're going to present this week. So you should see something soon about that what we're going to cover. But for those of you who haven't signed up yet, I recommend it. This is going to be a fun conference. We have a lot of products this time around. We have 4 products that we're going to talk about this year. Alpha Launch has been added to the list, so that's going to be fun. But this is a fun conference. It's remote, just like last year. You will all have access to the recordings later, so even if you can't attend the live event, you can definitely watch the content on your own time. So please, I encourage everyone to join us if you haven't already done so. And then the second announcement is that Alpha Shell is now available in the Android store. Yay!
Wow,
So you can go and download that too. I will send you all this link here. Ditch that part right there. You don't need that part. In the chat. Oh, that's questions. Chat window. There we go. So those of you who are waiting for Alpha Shell for Android, that's available now. iOS was already available. And
for those of you who remember the term PhoneGap shell or even Cordova shell, that's what this is now, Alpha Shell.
Yeah, so we published the app for you, so you don't have to do that anymore. If you missed the presentation where we talked about this that was done a couple weeks ago, you can find it up on our YouTube channel. If Dave could locate that link for me, that would be super awesome.
I sure can.
But the big announcement is that we have a new release of Alpha Anywhere. 4.6.3 was released last week on the 28th. And it's got a lot of cool, interesting features in it. And so we're going to kind of go through these today. But first, before we do that, I want to show you how to install the new release on a computer in a different location so you can test your application on the new release without blowing away your IDE development environment. So I'm going to launch the universal installer here. I assume everybody on the call here on the webinar today is familiar with our installer, the Alpha Anywhere Universal Installer. This is the full installer. It's got all the products listed in it. If you're a Community Edition user, you're only going to see one option here, but the process to install Alpha Anywhere in a different location so you can run it side by side your existing installation is exactly the same in both situations. All you really need to do is change the location where Alpha Anywhere gets installed. And the way you do that is on the Available tab. You'll come in here and you'll find the version of Alpha Anywhere you want to install. We're going to use the Developer Edition here. And then I'll show IIS second. But what you're going to want to do is you can click this Change button. It's going to pop up this Installation Options. And here you need to change the location where Alpha Anywhere is going to be installed to any place other than your current install if you want to have 2 versions side by side on your system. So I'm going to open this up here just to make sure that I don't have any folders named test. It looks like I don't. I have a temp, but that's okay. So I'm going to call my folder test install. Say select folder. I'll click OK. That's always trips me up. If it doesn't exist, you actually have to type it in here. So I'm going to make that test install. I'm going to use the most recent release, which is here. If you wanted to do the nightly build, you would change this to nightly build and pick one of those. Same process applies to that, but today we're going to pick the 7704 build, which is Alpha Anywhere 4.6.3. I'm going to click OK. And then, once that I verify I've changed that location, I'm going to click install and let this run to completion. And what this is going to do is create that installation folder and install the new version or whatever version you select into that folder. And I've already done this install once today, so this is actually going to go quite a bit faster than you may experience because I've already downloaded all the resources from our servers. So once this finishes, we'll click OK, and what it's going to do is it's going to take you to the install tab and scroll to the bottom and show you that installation. So here we see it's that test install, and if I click launch here, it will launch that version for me. We'll minimize that, and here I am in my new workspace. Now, if you have an existing project, say you have, say you're working with Farmington here, and you want to update this project to the new release, what you're going to want to do is back up your workspace first before you do anything with it, just so that you have a way to get back to the original project if you run into something and you're not ready to push it up. And the easiest way that I found to do that is to copy this location down here, or at least look it up, and go find that location. And here's my project, Farmington. Verification, Alpha Anywhere, Farmington, Farmington ADB. That's this file. I'm going to go up one level, find it here, and I'm just going to copy it. Copy it, uncheck it, paste it. And this might be a poor example because it's going to take a while. What I want to basically do is make a copy with a different name.
While that's copying, can I ask you a question from our questions list?
Absolutely.
So actually someone wrote in this one, and it had to do with the universal installer, which is why I think now's a good time to talk about that. They are interested in updating their software. It's on a machine. This is for desktop though, right? So the users actually have physical access to the machine. And it looks like he did not make the users, they're all administrators apparently, but he doesn't want the people to mess around with the universal installer once he's installed the version that he's happy with. Is it okay to go ahead and delete the universal installer after you've installed Alpha Anywhere if you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is.
There's also something called the offline installer, and I can dig up the.
Fantastic. Well, we'll come to that to the end. I was just I was helping you waste some time here, and now we're at 100%. So
yeah. So I've got a copy. I've made a backup of my project because I don't want to ruin that original one. Not ruin. I don't want to change it permanently because once you've gone forward on a project, you can't go backwards. But now that I've made that copy, I'm going to grab the copy here. Well, I'm going to come here and go to more workspaces, and then go to my C documents. I think it's Alpha Anywhere. Go into copy, select that workspace, open it. So this is a copy of my existing project. And now that I'm here in this release, here's the build number up here in the Web Projects Control Panel title bar. We put that there for reference for people so they know what they're working with. But now that I've got this in here, I can make my edits. I can try the new features out, make changes and stuff like that without affecting the original until I'm ready to move forward. So that's a good practice to have. Once you've got your project to a state where you're like, yeah, this is great, we're going to move forward, we're going to move to the update, and you have no plans on going back, feel free to get rid of your backup and just work with your new one. So I mentioned I was also going to show IIS. The installation process is exactly the same. You change this installation folder location. So I'm going to say test install IIS. Well, AA. For IIS, I'm going to pick the stable build. That one, okay. And install that. And the reason I'm going to show you guys this one is because there's a few things you need to know about having two versions of IIS installed side by side. And that is specifically that the version of the install that gets used on your server is going to be whatever your most recent install was. If that was the most recent release, then it's going to launch the most recent release for your applications when they start up in IIS. If that was a nightly build, it's going to use the nightly build. If it was an old version, it's going to use the old version. But knowing that, you can control which version gets used, and that's done in your publish profile for IIS. Click OK. And now that's running there. So I'm not going to click launch. I'm going to show you the publish profile here. So if we go in here, whoops, let's maximize. Oh no, web projects. Maximize. All right. So we go up here to web project settings. We add a new IIS profile. Localhost is fine. Fine. We'll take all the default settings here. In these settings here, there is an option to specify what build of Alpha Anywhere to use, or what version to use on your installation, what installation to use on your server. So let me see if I can find it. There we go. It's called Location of Alpha Anywhere Application Server for IIS, and it's set to default, and default is the thing that's going to just use whatever you recently installed. If you change it to custom, it's going to ask for the path to where that application server lives. And this here, the C program files, whoops, Alpha Anywhere Application Server or IIS is what you need to change. So in our installer, we used test install AA for IIS. So if we come over here and we change this, test install AA for IIS, this will now use that version I just installed. Now, really important thing you need to do before you install a second version that you want to test on is to go back to your other app and make sure you've configured this to custom to use the version that's already up there. Otherwise, your app is going to use the new install. So for customers running the application server for IIS, just know about this. But once you've got this set up, you've basically got a way to have a test site and your production site side by side on your server to test your application.
Cool.
Yeah. And then for cloud users, you can just have another deployment for testing on. That's very easy to do. And for standalone classic server users, I believe you can launch a second instance of the application server, no problem, on your servers. Yeah.
Port number.
Yeah. So you could install the second version in a different folder, and then launch that under like a different port number on your server, and then test that way. If you're able to set up a test server for yourself, that's also a good option. We strongly encourage people to test these things before they deploy, especially with this release, because as of this release, we are no longer supporting the AmiUni printer. It's gone. I believe it's been removed from everything. We're only using the new PDF direct functionality for generating reports. So that's going to affect some people. Definitely test your reports before you put them out there. Make sure those are in working order. And if you find any problems, let us know immediately so we can get it addressed. So with that, I wanted to close this workspace. And strain my brain for a moment while I try to remember what I was working with. I think it was this one.
Yep.
Yes. All right. So let's go look at some new features. Before I continue, were there any questions about installation?
There are actually. So at the end, I'll ask you about the offline installer.
Right.
But there was another question. Is it possible to uninstall a version of Alpha Anywhere once you've installed it?
Yes, and the current way you do that is you go to the, and it's, I agree this is not the best way to do things, but you go find where you installed it.
Oh, and just kill the
Like,
folder?
yeah, so here's my 2 tests, and then you just delete them.
Oh, okay.
We don't currently have an uninstall option in. Oh, this is gonna fail. Because I'm running it.
Well, make sure you're not running it when you're removing
Make sure you're not running it if you try to delete it.
That's
Anyway,
great.
just delete those folders. The server or the installer should pick up that they're gone. You cannot go through add remove programs to remove it at this point.
Mhm.
And that's all I've got on that one.
Just delete it that way. Okay,
Just
that's
delete
fine.
the folder from program files. Yeah.
Thank you. And then similar, speaking of built-in features, you can zip up a workspace just in the Windows File Explorer if you want to, but Alpha Anywhere also has a built-in way to zip up workspaces. Is there any difference? Can you use one or the other? Or is it
Well,
just
the
for
biggest
convenience?
difference is that people using Community Edition can't use that feature.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, so it's not available to people running Community Edition, but like the control panel, which is the desktop control panel, has something in here called like
was it under File? Maybe Backup Restore? No, that's different.
oh, it's right here at the top, zip
Yeah.
workspace.
There we go.
There it is. So I think all it does is just zips the entire workspace into a
Yes. So
folder,
feel
which
free.
you can do
Feel
in
free.
Windows
Some.
possibly faster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Thank you. That's
yeah.
for
That's in there, but if you're a Community Edition, you have no access to that.
very cool. That's it for questions at the moment. And so if you want to move on to new features, that'd be awesome.
All right, so this release we have a lot of new features, and I'm sure I'm going to run out of time to show you the 500 things I wrote down on this piece of paper already. So we're just going to take a look at a few of them. I do want to mention that with this release, the new Alpha Launch UI and the Alpha Shell publishing is now available in the current release. We already did 2 webinars on that a couple weeks ago, so I'm not going to go over that again. But if you want to know more, we can certainly send you the links to our YouTube channel where those are located. So I just want to show just little things here and there that we've done. There's no super huge, mega awesome, big, look at this new control. It's amazing. You can go to the moon on it, like kind of feature in the UX builder. We've just done a ton of things. Some of them aren't visible. We made a few changes on the back end that have massively improved the performance of lists in an app. Your apps are faster now. We've done some other performance improvements on a few things. Let me see here. Pull up my secret notes here. So let's see, performance. Yeah, we've improved the list performance. There's also did some performance on the back end and some of our template replace functionality for JSON. These things will make your apps responsive, more quick to load in a lot of cases and navigate because they're not constantly redrawing when they don't need to. So that's pretty big. We've also made a few other changes. The Cordova plugin with EXIF version that we now automatically use when you're doing a PhoneGap app has been updated to 1.4.3, which contains some Updates that fix a few issues that people are running into with EXIF data. We now automatically default the Android builds to SDK version 23, which is a new requirement for those publishing to the Google Play Store coming to the end of the year. There are minimum build versions that are required if you want to keep your apps in that store. So it's definitely worth looking into. And then another thing that we did, and this is for iOS users, if you go in here to the Cordova builder, and let it generate my PhoneGap project here. Oh, there it is. We have a new thing for usage strings. Where is it? Here we go. Here we go. iOS privacy and resource usage strings. So we were setting some of these. We had like a automatic description for you in the PhoneGap files that we were generating for the projects, but some of our customers are running into issues with those getting rejected, their apps getting rejected, because Apple wants to see you write something different. So we've exposed those usage strings in here, so you can come in here and write your own description about how your application uses location services or the microphone or the camera.
Bluetooth
So this
is a big one.
this is
They
important.
tend to be pretty specific about Bluetooth. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Apple, they really want to know specifically like what are you doing with this. So that's been exposed in this builder for your convenience, so you don't have to go digging around in a JSON or XML file or whatever it is. So that's something to go and check out if you are developing mobile apps for sure. Another thing along the line of mobile apps, and I'll show this, is just a reminder that PhoneGap, keep saying PhoneGap, Cordova, Alpha Shell is based off of this template right here called PhoneGap shell here, v3. And there's only one shell in here now, just version 3. If you want to see how we built that app, or if you want to build your own app, use this template. It's free for you to use, develop, ship, whatever you want to do with it. We've provided it for you here. This will just create a new UX component with everything in it that we've got in ours, including this list of plugins. It lists all the plugins that we've included. It's a static list here, but this is for you. Play with it, figure out how we did things. Definitely check that one out. And then let's make another component here to show a button. Also, another feature that you may be interested in if you're doing a lot of data collection in your mobile apps is we've added a way to perform a speed test and a connectivity test to the application server before you perform something like an AJAX callback that might require to upload a lot of data. And that's in the AJAX callback action itself, right here, AJAX callback, and it's called Internet Speed Test. Check if server is available. So this is where it all starts. This check if server is available checkbox. You turn that on, it will check to see if we can reach the server at all before we attempt to do the callback. This timeout is in milliseconds. 2000 milliseconds is the default. And then in addition to doing that check, you can also do a speed test, which just tests whether, like, how quickly we can upload some data to the server before it times out. And this is set to send 100 kilobytes as the default. And if it doesn't get a response back after sending that information to the server within 300 milliseconds, this test is considered failed and it will not perform the callback. So if you've got weak network connections, weak spotty connections in places, and you just don't want people doing anything when that happens, you can add these checks now into your AJAX callbacks. You will have to go back into your apps and edit the callback to add that, but this is new in 4.6.3. And if in both of those cases, if it fails, you can specify some custom JavaScript, maybe display a pop-up message that says, hey, your connection is not good enough to do this. So that you can do that for this failed speed test, and also if the server is not available, we have an action there as well. Right now, it just prints an alert for you. No, do not save. So I'm going to shift over now to the list control, and I've got a little demo here. This is a list with an embedded detail view. Oh, got to click the button. Okay. There we go. So if you remember, we added embedded detail views in the previous release, and what that basically is some controls in a container somewhere can now be placed inside the list, and we give you an option to insert this button to expand and collapse. And the new functionality that we've added for that feature is when you add a new record to a list with an embedded detail view, we put that new record at the very bottom below all of the data. So you can sit here and work away, add your new stuff, save it, reset it, or whatever you want to do. And I believe this works if you've got 0 data in your list as well. So that's new there. We also added in the list, we'll go over to list properties. We added momentum scrolling, and momentum scrolling is like contextual scrolling, how quickly you swipe up the screen. It gives it momentum to scroll down the page. Let me find scrolling. I'm looking for it, and I'm not finding it. Custom scroll property. Ah, there we go. All right, enable custom scroll properties. And now we've got scroll momentum, scroll duration, friction. And you can add this into your apps to create that. It's a feature that you may have seen on websites and stuff. It just allows users to scroll, and it runs real fast and then slows down a little bit. So I think if I turn that on, and we do tiny mobile here, we should get a good emulation of that. So see how it keeps going there? That's momentum scrolling. If we go back and turn it off, it will not do that. There we go. Let's turn those off. And this feature is also available in the Viewbox, which is the control we're going to go take a look at next. I turned it off, but it still does that. Interesting. Anyway, that's momentum scrolling. The Viewbox is the other thing that we've updated. I'm just going to quickly make a Viewbox controller here. This is a sort of a generic controller you can set up to have data or some static HTML. We're going to quickly pull some data out of a database. I'm going to use the Northwinds connection string, the AA demo one, which you'll have a link for to create if you've never created one in that dialog that was up there. We'll grab customers, all the fields. Call that good. Go over the layout real quick. Add a container for a list row container. And what this does is adds It makes it look like a list, but it's not a list, it's Viewbox. And we'll do customer ID and city. Insert those in there. And come over here. And here, in the Viewbox, we've had a lot of requests over the years to like add in like a static header or something like that. And so the way we've decided to solve that and add that functionality is with a wrapper class. And what this does is it adds static HTML into the Viewbox layout, around the Viewbox layout, basically, around the whole control. That doesn't move, it's fixed. All the scrolling of the Viewbox happens within it. And you can use this to add headers or footers or a picture around the outside of it. So the way you get it to add it is you check the use wrapper option in your Viewbox properties, and then you're going to want to set up your wrapper HTML. And when you set up your wrapper HTML, it's incredibly critical that you include an HTML div tag that has this A5 layout target equal true property. And if you click on this sample HTML, we show you an example of what that looks like. This right here, that div tag is where your Viewbox control is going to go, and if you don't have it, your Viewbox isn't going to render. So you need to include that here. So let's put a header up here. And we'll get rid of the footer. We don't really need that. And let's put some background colors in there just so you guys get an idea of what we've done here. We've got our layout. All right, that's all we need. I'll click OK. Get rid of my test button. Go into live preview now. That's my header. It's got that orange background, but my Viewbox is still here down on the bottom. So this is where you set that up. There's also this initialization JavaScript function that gets called. It doesn't have any parameters in it, so but you can use that to do anything additional that you want to do with that layout. The momentum scrolling I mentioned before is set up here too. So here's where you can find those settings for the Viewbox in addition to the list. Any questions?
No questions on that
No
right
questions
now.
yet? All right.
We have questions on other things, but not on things.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Exit without, yeah, let's exit without saving. And let's close this and not use it again. Let's see here. We did add a few new controls. One of them is obviously found, and the other one is a little more hidden. The first one is we've added a new control. I didn't want to do that. Called SQL Trace Log. And what this does is it gives a place for the SQL Trace Log to be displayed in your app. If you wanted, I don't know what you would want to do with it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. The SQL Trace, if you were at last week's webinar, I believe Dion mentioned it. You have a connection string.
He did how to turn it on, but not necessarily how to display it.
Not necessarily how to view it, yeah. So if you go in, you have a connection string, like you've got AA demo Northwind, which if you don't have it, there will be a link down here for you to create it. And you go in here and you build. There's this checkbox called Trace SQL. You can turn that on, and what that SQL Trace box does is displays the contents of that trace log. So we'll turn that on for that connection string, which this list is based on. And how do I want to do this? I think I want to do it like this. Let's add panel layout. We'll kill this guy. Add another panel card here. I've got a panel layout. This is my, this panel card contains my embedded detail view. This has to be here so it's not shown on the screen, but you can still embed it. Let's add that SQL trace in there. And I don't, yeah, there's no fill container on this control. It's just a static text control, but it's been configured to do something special. Show high SQL Trace Log. There we go. So now if we go to live preview here, we should see two panels side by side. Oh, you know, let's turn off mobile. It'll be easier to read. So that's going to expand and collect. So I believe my trace log right now is empty, and I can prove that by going over here to view trace window, and oh, there's something in it. Maybe there's nothing in it for this connection string. At any rate, is that a new record? There we go. If I can get this to scroll down. There we go. Send my new record here, all the information. Interesting. I'm wondering why I'm not seeing it.
Oh well, we can work that
Oh
out.
well.
We'll show you next time.
Oh, hold on.
What? All right.
One more.
You can't make it 37 minutes into a live demo without having something.
I know. No, I just forgot about this part. There's a checkbox you have to turn on in the UX component called capture SQL Trace Log. That makes sense, actually, because I don't think you want to show every single action that anybody does on the server while you're running this. There we go. So, whoops, don't click on it twice. This is basically showing me everything that happened. What got called, the action, you know, here we did a count, and then we did it again, and then we did it again, and then we got all the data, and we did it again, you know, so this is showing you what's happening, how the call was made, native SQL syntax, the database API that was used is the SQLite database, whether or not the trace SQL is turned on, where that file is stored, so on and so forth. So, you know, and how long those calls take. If you've got SQL queries that are giving you trouble, this might be a useful tool for you to use. Right. Be super aware of this, because I made this as a mistake as a rookie developer in Alpha Anywhere when I first started using this product. Go back in that connection string.
Is there a bit of a performance hit, perhaps?
Turn it off. Turn it off. All of a sudden your boss will be like, wow, the website is 10 times faster, and you'll be like, yeah, it's amazing, I fixed it. You know, just make sure you turn it off in your production environment if you don't need it.
It's meant for debugging, basically.
It's meant for debugging. That file can grow very large very fast. You saw how much information just in here we caught when we just loaded this component. Right. So, you know, turn it off. But this is here for you, so you don't have to go up on download Alpha Cloud stuff if you don't want to go dig through that and try to find the specific logs for your component, because that's going to have everything in it. This can be helpful for you. So that's the SQL trace control. We've got some new JavaScript actions.
Oh, cool.
And I think they're cool.
Action JavaScript actions are usually very cool because they've usually taken something that used to be a super pain in the neck and
Yes.
kind of reduced it down to a wizard.
Yeah, and we've got more than the release notes let on, I believe. Because I was privy to some email communications.
Oh, how about
But
that?
yeah, so let's go take a look at that. We'll do that over here in JavaScript actions. Let's create a new action, and we'll call this one just actions. Okay, and I'll click edit action. So the first one I want to show is in our message box action. So this is our message box action JavaScript action.
Mhm. It looks the same.
It
Yeah.
looks the same, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what you see when you first open it. This
Yeah.
is the default configuration. All this will do is display a JavaScript alert with whatever text you put up here in this message box text. Check advanced message box, you get a much better styled pop-up that is going to fit with your theme. And the new feature here is called default button. And what default button is the button that gets clicked when the user hits the enter key.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got like two buttons, you've got OK and cancel. You can come over here and say, oh, well, my default button is going to be O, because that's my OK button in this button type definition up here. Well, okay. And so what's going to happen is that button is going to be triggered automatically when you press the enter key. So let's well, let's do O here. I think that's how I have to do it. I'm pulled up the help here. So let's do here. Let's do my message box and this message has a default button. All right. We'll keep all the rest of the defaults here. We'll click OK to create that. Save it. And now I'm going to demo the other feature we added that I want to show you, which is create button to execute selected action. It's actually pretty cool. What this link does is it generates the control code basically to add a button to your component that will trigger this action. So when you click that link, you get this pop-up. It's basically telling you, hey, we've created this control and we've put it on the clipboard for you to paste into your application. So you're going to close this, click OK, and then come over here somewhere. Let's add a footer. No control bar. And I'm going to select the opening control tag and I'm going to hit Control V. And that's going to paste it after the selected control. And this is going to play that action that I just made. So if we go into live preview, side note while we're here, there is no more Internet Explorer view for live or working preview. Everything is Chrome now. We've gotten rid of Internet Explorer. And there's a weird issue where sometimes this gets chopped off. If I click that button, here's my thing, and I put my mouse over here off screen somewhere and hit enter. And it closed the button because I clicked OK. In the release notes, we've actually got this piece of CSS that we show. We'll go over properties and I'll put it in the local CSS definitions, find property. There we go. All right, so we've got this little piece of CSS, and what this does is it adds a border around a button that has focus. Focus is a pseudo class selector, which I talked about a while ago in our CSS webinar about selectors and stuff like that. So send that
So
link.
things like hover and stuff like that.
Hover, what is it? Visited, active. These are the ones for the anchor tag.
Right.
But there's one called focus. So this will add a border around a button that has focus. So if we go back in here, run our action again. See, now it's got a border around the one that's gonna get focus. So that's kind of a way you can indicate to people that that's going to be the default action. You can obviously put anything in there that you want. If you want to have a background color or change the text color, those kinds of things. That's a good way to add a visual indicator that that's the default button. So we added that. And then also we added a whole bunch of actions for the list. Let's go look at JavaScript actions. List actions 2 now contains list actions instead of a message box. List control. So we have an action called list control actions. And in here, it looks pretty simple at first. You have to pick what action you want to perform, and there's a lot of stuff in here.
Whoa.
Yeah, so this is just exploded in what you can do.
It used
But
to
we've
be
got
like
a
5 or
couple
6
new
or
ones.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one that will filter a list to only show the checked rows in the list. So you have something called a checkbox select column in list control that you can add. It adds a checkbox, and users can check on it. And this action will then filter the list to only show those checked rows. Only it works on lists that are based on a SQL data source. It's not going to work on static data. So keep that in mind. But a few others we added, and I don't know if we've ever covered these before, but we've got some that persist your list layout. Persist means it saves it on the device, I presume in local storage, so that it can be loaded again later. And there's 2 versions of that in here. There's one that's for column layouts, so what columns are visible, what columns are hidden, what columns you have, their widths and stuff like that. You can put those in there. And then if you've got a list with multiple layouts, that's what these other 2 actions are for. It remembers what the active layout was and restores that in addition to all of the columnar list settings.
And the new nested detail view looks like we have a couple of actions for
We have
those
a couple
as well.
actions for the nested detail view. I'm not 100% sure when these were added. They may have been added in the last release. And then there was another one.
You do a lot of us. Anyway.
The problem is this is all mixed in together. I don't remember what it's named. I believe that we added one to clear out all filters. Oh, no, it's a function. Let's go take a look at that. So the list has something called column actions, which allows you to add individual filters to each column. And these are getting so long now that I can never.
You have to use the magnifying glass. Yeah, the search.
Has column actions. Find property. There we go, layout. So this is for columnar lists only. If you turn this on, it adds a bunch of filters that you can use to filter your list. So we'll click OK. And these filters can be used to search. It's a way to search your list, to add search. So you can come here and be like, oh, I only want these guys here. I don't know why I picked select all. Filter that. So I've got these 3 here, and maybe in my city I wanted to find every city that contains a D. And so now I've got these 3 options left here. So the new thing that we added was a JavaScript function that will basically clear out all those filters and reset the list display. You could previously reset the filter just by calling set filter to blank, but what it didn't do is it did not clear out the selected options in those column column filters. So it looked like they were still being applied when they were not. So if we go over here and insert, hopefully it's in here, clear, there it is. So we have this clear all column action filters. And the way this works is you have to get a pointer to the list control that has those column actions. And then you can call this function. And this is it. This is all you really need to do. It returns a value. I'm not 100% sure what you want to do with that value. Doesn't make any sense. So we will remove it. But if we put in here, let's go put this in a button. Add a button. Clear all filters. Make this primary subtheme. I like primary the most. Okay. And then we'll come down to the click action. We'll just use text mode, paste that in there. Make sure our list is right. It is right. Save it. And then full preview. And it looks like I'm running up against time and I have a lot more stuff to talk about. So maybe we should continue this conversation next week.
Let's definitely continue next week with the features, and I know there are a lot more also that you want to get to.
There are a lot more, yeah.
But if you want to
So if I
continue,
click
that's
that now,
fine.
yeah,
Let me see if I
that
can
filters
find.
it.
There may be a question or two that we can get to.
And if you see
One
that
has to-
focus code I added is now affecting this button as well. So
Oh, I noticed. Yeah, it works on all
yeah,
buttons.
you can see what has focus.
Yeah.
So I do want to pause there. We only have 8 minutes left, and so I want to answer any questions that people might have, and also, remind you that if you run into any problems, tell us immediately. Guides@alphasoftware.com, and definitely send in any questions that you might have too.
Excellent.
To that same email.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the first one, and it has to do with Alpha Shell. If they wanted to find documentation about Alpha Shell, where do they find that in the documentation?
Trick question. I'm not done writing it up yet.
I
apologize. There's so much. We've got a new transform release coming soon too, and I'm only me. But I did do a webinar on it, and there is a GitHub repository that has the slides in there on what you need to do. Let me pull that up for
Fantastic. I found the webinar that you did for that, and that's actually that's right there in the chat window. So that's probably the best place to look right now.
Yeah.
Is scroll through that webinar, take a look at the files that are provided there.
Yeah.
There is some stuff for phone gap shell that you'll find in documentation, but maybe just wait for Sarah to update the Alpha Shell stuff. And
yeah, I'm really close. It's just a lot to put there, but there's the link to the GitHub repository that's also linked in the description section of the video, I believe.
Yeah.
But let's pull that up here. I included the PowerPoint in there, so if you want to go through and just
great.
just
Can
look
you also
through
put
it.
that link, that GitHub link into that? Thank you.
Yeah. So this shows you what you need to do.
Great.
Except for the publishing piece. You do have to publish your UX component to an application server, Alpha Cloud, the classic server, IIS. You can also use the developer, but your device needs to be on the same network. And
so long as your phone can get to it.
Tricky. Right? Yeah, as long as you can access it over the internet, it's good. But it does have to be published, and it does not work offline. Is the other thing to remember.
Right.
And you can't test your CSS custom style themes in it.
Oh, okay. Also good to know.
Right. Yeah. The way it works is
application. Yeah.
Yeah. The way it works is when it loads the UX component, it uses the parent style. It does not load the child style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Let's see what else I get. Let's see here.
The release.
Someone had a JavaScript question. I always find this kind of interesting. I don't know if you've got or JavaScript. Actually, looks like an XBasic question. I don't know if you want to paste that into the window and take a quick look at it. It's 5 lines of code. See if you can figure out.
I could take a look at it. But while we're here on this page, I do want to remind everybody, you have 1 month to upgrade from Windows 8.1 or Windows Server 2012 R2 to a newer Windows version before support ends on July 1st, 2021, we will not be supporting Alpha Anywhere products or Alpha software products on those operating systems anymore, starting in about a month.
Nothing hugely magic happens on that day. We don't shut down your server or anything
No,
like that.
no, but we
just know that
may choose
we
to
can't
stop
help you
answering
out.
your questions.
Exactly. You don't want that.
What it really means is that we won't support installation problems on those servers because we're not testing on them anymore. We're not supporting them. We're not making sure our product is going to work on that. We need to move forward. We need to have people using the newer versions of these operating systems because what we're running into is that supporting these older systems is limiting our ability to stay
On
current.
the other hand, if we could get Microsoft to stop putting out new versions of Windows, we'd all be fine, I think.
I mean, Windows 10 was the last Windows, so that's all you need.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? So yeah, let's go look at that question. You said there was some.
Yeah, take a look in the questions box.
Is it possible to copy this?
Oh, that's a great question.
Copy.
Yeah, I think you can. Are you not able to?
I don't think I can. Oh, wait, here we go. There's a second text box.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's go over here. I heard it was XBasic, so we'll create a new XBasic script, and I'm just going to paste this in here. And what is the question?
The question is, how come they're getting an error? First of all, I don't understand the semicolon, so that doesn't make sense to me, but maybe you can explain that. On the embedded detail, sorry, it's news.
Well, yeah, so for starters, XBasic doesn't do semicolons.
So get rid of those. So the error they're getting back is that the field OBJ.ino does not exist.
So instead of doing this, because I don't know why it wouldn't exist, just take a peek at your JSON first.
All right.
And so let's see here. Connection. DMRS is SQL result set. Dem SQL is C. Star from customers.
I think you've done this before.
No. CN open name a demo. So let's just make a short example here. And then cn.execute SQL. Call result. Wait, is it result set? It is result set. Sorry. All right. And then do that. We'll just start here.
Couple of ifs to end. Yeah. Oh, I see.
I believe it's text. There we go. So I assume I wrote everything right here. I'm gonna run this and see what we get. There we go. So it worked. Show of our JSON is going to show you this JSON object, and it's going to show you what values you got back. And so that looks good to you. Oops. There we go. Then
you could put in a debug and then start.
Yeah. Well, you can put in a debug. But then you can do show var obj. And what I suspect is happening is that there is no ID now, because maybe you're getting back multiple records. So you might need to be like obj0 first. But what that error is telling you is that there is no array index out of bounds. I forgot. Don't do 0, do 1. Arrays are 1 index to next basic. So what you probably are not, you're probably getting a JSON array out of JSON parse and not a singular JSON entry like this.
Mhm.
But that's what that error means, that the
Excellent.
object.ido node doesn't exist because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the object. There's no property on the top level object called IDNO.
All right, so someone would like you to paste all of that, actually a different person, into the chat window if you don't mind, so that they can play around with it.
I could do that, or
Yeah.
I could give you better documentation. In here, working with SQL data. Whole bunch of information in here for you to look at.
All right.
Take a peek at that. Oops, I just sent that to someone. I don't know who. That is not the right window.
There you go. Yeah.
But come in here, take a look at this. We show how to use the trace window if you need to write out errors, how to write portable SQL queries, that kind of stuff. And I'll also give you that
Right.
thing. I'm
Yeah.
gonna paste it in there. I don't know what it's gonna do though.
Something fun, I'm sure. We'll put it in chat and we'll see what it does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that worked. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, the only thing I didn't do is I didn't close my connection.
Oh yeah, right, exactly.
That's a bummer.
And you pasted also the link, it looks like, to the SQL guide as well.
I did.
Cool.
Check it out.
All right. Hey, Sarah, thanks so much for doing all this. We're a couple minutes over time and we have a lot more to cover. In the meantime, if you need to get a question answered more urgently, send it to guides, Guides, at alphasoftware.com. And we will see you next Wednesday with more Alpha Anywhere features.
Yep. And it's me again, right?
It's you again. Exactly.
I'll be back.
Oh, you've warned them that it's you again. And we'll see how many come back then, Sarah. I bet it'll be good, though.
I'll expect everybody has to bring a friend.
Bring a friend. Thank you, everyone. Stay well. Take care. Bye-bye.